So all my guests so far, like they've been very, I would say, cooperative and all very sweet, in terms of getting their timings right or adjusting. Very, very open to the multiple times probably I've changed timings or even from their end. But I must say the two gentlemen on this show today, it has been from my end that I have done multiple changes in time. I've met both of them even off the record. And I've always gone back to Vinit and said, can we meet on this day? We've changed timings. We even changed timings for the recording as well. But here they are finally. Thank you so much for being those lovely people. Now, in case you didn't know, for all those probably for the first time listening to us, this is a Totally Indian Football Show. I'm your host, Siju, and today I have not one but two gentlemen on the show, and lovely two people who are trying to build something. It's called the Big Hit. They're trying to hit big for definitely. I think that's going to be my title. Wordplay is going to be something. I have Shakti and Vinit, who are co-founders at the company called BigHit. Shakti, thank you so much, and Vinit, welcome to the show.
Hi, Siju. Thank you for having us over.
Hi, Siju. Thank you. I know we have gone back and forth, but then happy to be here and happy to let out the word to everybody that what we're trying to build and what we're trying to do. So, thank you again for having us.
No, it's a pleasure. Now, again, I think a lot of commonality of many other few guests have been LinkedIn has been the thing, right? That has connected people, and that's how I connected with Vinith. And I was very curious to know what is he trying to do with Big Hit, right? The company name itself builds that curiosity. Shakti, to start with you, we've had off the record conversation, so probably you'll have to repeat yourself here because you're doing it on record. A bit about you, your background. First, we'll start with that.
All right. So my background is a bit colorful. I started off. I did my engineering. I was a nautical science graduate. I went to shipping, and it was a phenomenal journey actually. So when I was in shipping, I was enjoying, and one day multiple reasons, and I was out to join a ship, and I realized that I don't want to do it anymore. I was doing it for 4 years, and I was at the airport about to board the plane, and I called up my dad and I said I don't want to go. And I was 24, 25 years old, and he says, don't go. I like, what I'm gonna do, Dad? And if I quit this job, what I'm gonna do? And his answer, which has stuck with me forever and which has shaped how I have performed in life, is he says, "Your name is Shakti. You can do whatever you want." And I think that's what. And I got my luggage out and I quit, and I went back, and I did not know what to do. I was hanging around for a couple of months. And I joined the NGO. In the meanwhile, it was somebody I knew. She was running an NGO. I started helping her out, and while I was helping her out, there was another guy with me, and that's how I got to know there was an exam known as CAT, and it's supposedly the best premier schools out there. And I ended up joining IIM Lucknow. When I went to IIM Lucknow, I had no clue about how corporate world works, and I figured out that I talked to a couple of people, and alumni says that the most paying job is that of a investment banker. And I focused, and I ended up being a fund manager with a couple of really big brand names. And from there, after a while, I realized that I'm not a guy who will, be in a corporate rut, and I wanted to do something on my own, and I quit. While I was on the, high speed growth path to my career, I was, I think, doing significantly better than a lot of people I knew. And I just quit. 2014 it was. From there, 5 years down the line, all the way to the point of bankruptcy, where things turned and we did well. And we have a successful SaaS company, which is doing pretty well. And once we had the thing, and I was always a player, I was a football player. I have played taekwondo at national level. And I realized, that this time has come that we should do something which, I could have as well been a football player. So I thought that, can we do something around it? And that's how the Big Hit was born. So, yeah. You talk about the wordplay on Big Hit. We are trying to hit it big is one part of it. But if you look, when you see a cricket which is very popular in India, you see when somebody hits a ball out of the stadium, you say it's a big hit.
Yeah.
We are trying to hit the ball out of the stadium. So that's where the word comes from.
Vinit, coming to you now, when did this meeting happen and how did it happen, and take us through that journey and what went behind the doors while you all met?
So me and Shakti go back in time. We've known each other for more than 8, 9 odd years. Initially, so my background, I was an engineer who turned MBA, wanted to pursue investment banking, wealth management, did that, got into one of the best wealth firms in India, pursued the wealth management career. Then one fine day, I met Shakti and a couple of other friends, and new visions of life opened. And I figured out I want to move my path where I want to go. And I decided to move from banking to skilled gaming industry. And then that was the first leap of faith which I took, where I moved. I had recently joined a boutique wealth firm as a product head, and I just quit and I joined one of the fantasy companies, and that's where the journey started. I worked there for a little bit, and Shakti was always a mentor to me, where I would take decisions with guidance of what I should be doing, what I should not be doing. And one fine day, Shakti had an idea, and he pitched that idea to me, and it was his place. And that night I could not sleep, because I could just not stop thinking about what all possibilities that could generate. Also because both of us are going back in time, we have played particular sports at a particular level, state, nationals, and we had given up that, because I came from a middle class family, and we did not know whether the sporting career would lead us to a successful life. So we ended up taking the career as the academic career. And that day I realized that if I could do something in that sector, where an upcoming athlete does not leave the sport for any other reason, but if he gets everything that is required for him to, let's say, pursue that sporting career, I think we have probably made that change. And that was the reason why, and I got involved in. And multiple conversation went. I started working in two places at one point in time. And since that day and today we are here, I think we have done a lot of groundwork, but then the vision still remains the same, and the energy is probably higher than where we were before. The team has grown multiple times.
Great. I mean, and that's a good story that's come together and, from different backgrounds or rather similar backgrounds and coming together, coinciding into something similar that you've done in the past, which is sport that connects you. Now, Shakti, you mentioned Big Hit wants to hit big, hit the ball out of the ground, or whether it's footballing terms, score as many goals as possible at the highest level, right? Now, take us through what is this Big Hit story and how do you intend to hit the ball out of the park?
All right. So when I say that I'm a sports person, the only way you will learn about it is if I tell it to you. But if you want to see what did I do as my education and what was my corporate journey, it is very easy to find out. You just have to Google my name and I'll pop up on the LinkedIn and you have my story. So the identity of any sports person is a big issue. More so in India. So our whole idea started from. So if I want to say, today. My company wants to do CSR and I want to probably promote the top volleyball athletes in India. Where do I find them? Who do I ask? Is there a place where I can, and that's how the whole idea started. Can we make it a platform where the athletes have their identities? So if I look, say I look up Siju and I can see that she has played billiards and she was at the national thing, and can I have that idea authenticated? Also, if there is this guy Shakti who is a brilliant billiards player, and he belongs to say a tier 3 town, he doesn't really know the way on which he will make it to the Geet City level, but there is somebody who was also looking for a guy like that. So there's a platform which should be where the twain shall meet, is how we thought about the whole thing. So the idea of Big Hit is primarily to create that platform, gives you the launchpad. Our idea is to bring the people who are looking for the players, so which is typically the federations, the coaches, the clubs, the teams, and the people who have the talent. Bring the ecosystem together, and our whole journey is effectively centered around the player itself. So what is it that you need to make it big? And that's where we are coming in. A lot of athletes don't make it big because they don't have the right opportunity. By the time you realize, the discovery of that path takes a lot of precious years of your. So if you are a athlete destined for greatness, you will know it by 16. 15, 16. In teens, you'll know that you are destined for the. Tendulkar was. Already, he knew he's gonna be there when Virat Kohli. Think of all the great names; they were there, at a particular age. So our idea is that they should not be running around in dark as to where should I go next. Somebody should find them. So instead of the athlete going to the right destination, the destination should also seek the athlete, and that's where the platform comes into play. So of course there are multiple other programs we are building in and around it. We are working on a couple of IPs, on ground presence. We are also working extremely hard, because our focus is actually around two sports. One is contact sports, where we are working very closely with MMA and a couple of other contact sports federations. And our second, actually the first big focus is football. We are looking to kind of build a roadmap, which leads Indian footballers to European football, which is the mecca of football in the globe and the world.
Now, we need to ask you if you could probably break down, if I am a player or a coach, or whoever is listening to this episode who's a player or a coach, how do they go about maneuvering and understanding how can I be or put my presence on BigHit? How do they go about doing that?
So it's a simple platform. Everybody today has multiple digital applications, right? Everybody has a presence on Facebook, everybody has a presence on Instagram. It is as simple as using Instagram. You can create your profile as a player, as a coach. If you run a club, you can register as a club. For federations, you can register as federations. So if you are using Instagram or Facebook right now, I don't think it will be much difficult for you to just go onto the platform and start using it. It is a user generated content, so it acts just like Instagram, where you can showcase your talent, showcase your skills. And the best part is, the entire stakeholders who are involved. If you are a player, your coach gets tagged to you on your profile. Your club where you're playing to gets tagged to your profile. The federation which you're playing to gets tagged to your profile. So if you go to a player, everybody who is involved in making him the next hero also gets the limelight. So ideally what happens is, if the player becomes big, the coaches who have trained him at the initial stages, they often don't get the limelight. Like personally spoken to so many coaches, and they name IPL athletes as if they are their kids. They
Right.
have trained them so hard and they don't get any limelight. But our platform gives you that limelight also. If you have trained an athlete from, let's say, 2006 to 2008, you can literally show that on the athlete's journey. So journey of an athlete can be entirely depicted onto the platform, and it is as simple as using any other social media platform.
Great.
To add to something out here, not only is so currently I have two kids, both of them play football for various clubs. They play for the school, and so when I want my son to play football or my daughter to play basketball, how do I go about it? I will ask some other parent whose kid plays football or basketball, and I say, where does your kid go? And he tells me a name, and I go there. I don't really know whether I should know actually that in my area there's so many basketball courts, and this particular club has like three national players playing. The coach out there is a national athlete himself, and that's where my decision should be based on information. If I know who's the coach who has trained Sunil Chetri, and if he's also training in Bombay, I would ideally want my son to go to him. I would want some other kid who wants to play cricket to train with the same coach where Sachin Tendulkar or Virat Kohli has trained. I don't even know their names. So it's the discovery is not only for the player; it is also directed towards a broader audience, the parents or the kids who want to train their kids. So that's where we are.
Right. I think, and you mentioned that football is one of the primary thing that
The
primary thing you're focusing, and I think that's the whole show that we also talk about. Football is the sport that we speak about. So now, probably, if you can break down of how do you go about, what are the plans, the projects that are upcoming, anything exciting that we all need to know or know of that BigHit is planning, and because I've been following BigHit for some time now, and I see a lot of tie-ups with federations, different state associations rather. And so, what's the plan like, and what can we expect?
So, like we said, what we are trying to do is create a platform where everybody has a chance. Our focus is basically not only the Indian football, but a broader football ecosystem, which is primarily centered around Europe. So, in January, it's the process is going on for almost a year, but in January this month, me, Vinit, and another co-founder of us, Akbar, we traveled to Europe on about a 16 days trips. We ended up traveling 7 countries, and we did more than about 20 meetings. And all of these are the top football clubs names which you talk about. And the idea is how easy or how open they are at looking at Indian talent, providing them a roadmap to their clubs, giving them exposure to the way these guys play. So playing tournament is one thing, but getting trained the same way on the same field in the same circumstances is something which gives you a humongous amount of edge when it comes to playing football. So our effort has been there, and the kind of response we received on that is overwhelming. So now what we are working towards is a two-pronged approach. One is we intend to run a trial pan India. It should start very, very soon. The idea is to create a team and maybe two. When I say create a team, I don't really have a team right now, but the team, so all the positions in the team is open. We want to run a trial across multiple states, pan India, and choose a bunch of people. While we are doing it, it is in collaboration with a couple of European clubs, or probably a full-blown league, an established league in Europe, which will be we are looking to partner with. We shall announce the name very shortly. And we will have the infrastructure. We will have their coaches. We'll have their scouts who will be participating in the trials. And the idea is to create a bunch of athletes and put them in a camp under these coaches and scouts, and create a team out of here. The team then gets to not only train but also play multiple clubs in the same league on their grounds. And the whole exercise is. So the idea is basically to give them the exposure and play them as a team against these clubs. And the whole focus is on developing the right talent, the right channel. So this whole exercise, the cost will be borne by BigHit and the partner we are bringing in. And hopefully couple of them come into the scout radar and make it big on that football scene out there. So that's where we are starting off with. So we are calling it the trials. We are also working on a league format with one of the top European clubs, and we are also, that is a process we'll be also be announcing very shortly. So again, the format is very similar, a couple of matches and exercises in India, and then you end up playing Europe with some of the top names out there. And we are aiming this exercise is primarily at under 14, under 16 kind of categories. So if you get spotted, you still have a couple of years where they can shape you in the way they want you to play, and you actually have an actual shot and playing in those teams out there.
Right. Vinit, do you want to add to that or anything?
No, I think that sums up to everything. But yeah, with respect to what we are doing in India, is like you mentioned, what you have seen multiple tie-ups that we have done in the recent past. We are not only tying up with the state federations, we're also tying up with the national federations. But if you see carefully, only football we're tying up with the state federation also. So the idea is to have presence not only in the in the metropolitan cities, but also in tier 3, tier 4 cities where there actually is talent, and probably they should also get an equal opportunity. And that's the reason why we also started collaborating with multiple state federations. So entire northeast belt has been covered. The idea is, if we host the trials, we want to host the trials in each and every city in every state that is possible. And to do that, I don't think it is better than collaborating with the federation to run these, because with federations you get access to scouts, you get access to grounds, and most importantly you get access to players playing in the particular category. Obviously the marketing and the buzz that goes out will go on, but I think the best way to penetrate is with the federations and also the marketing channel that we have.
Right. Now you mentioned you're forming a team. So is that team what's the team like, as in, is it the BigHit 11, or what's the team going to be named like, or is it the India Best 11? What's the team when you say you're forming a team because you're doing trials, what's the team like? Like, what are you naming, or who does the whole?
The naming of the team is, again, we would ideally want it to be Big Hit 11, but at the same time, we have an interest from a couple of sponsors. This could as well be a franchisee. We are not sure yet, so we have not really thought of how do we name it. If
It's basically a club that would be owned by you guys. That's
yes.
how-
So again, our idea is again to not create a club. The idea is that these guys get onto the scouting radar. These are great talent.
Right.
This can be directly feeding, and these are under 14, under 16 kids. So effectively, they are working as a feeder for our existing leagues. We have a very well-established football system in India. We have an I League, we have an ISL, and these clubs, they have their own scouting network, so probably these guys will also feed into them. Do I want to run a club? Not really at this point of time. I effectively want to showcase the talent. That's a prime objective. We may end up running a club if that is the more sustainable way. So yeah, I mean, how do we name it? I don't know yet.
Okay. And to understand further, like, have you all also, you're not doing fresh set of trials. So that means you all haven't got in touch with any academies or doing trials, like, say, for example, in partnership with an academy who already have a set of kids. Because here, what you're doing is the exposure. You have another hand of giving them a European level exposure, right? Which not every academy may have. But the academies here, even at the smaller level, they have a pool of talent already. So does that also include, or is it just a fresh set of trials that you guys are?
So we are looking to collaborate with the existing academies and the existing setup which is already there. We would want access to them, and that access is coming through, like Vinit mentioned, we are looking at access to tap through the state federations. So while we are talking to the state federations, we also entrenched into the system, and we are talking to a lot of on-ground coaches. And we recently had the coaches meet in Bombay. It was it was more than houseful. Actually, it was bursting at the seams. The kind of response we got was overwhelming, because like you rightly said, they have access to a great pool of talent, but they don't know where the road will. They don't have that access to the road which leads to the European football. So yes, we would be collaborating with most of them.
Right. Now, yes, I think all of us would want to see someone out there, and that's the whole, like you mentioned, the end goal is there. Even with these clubs, we also want to see the young, point to see also the ISL clubs or the other clubs. They do have academy structure as well. Some of them do. And even there, they want to send the kids out, have that exposure and come back. But I think most and often, even the national team, like I think the recently under 17, under 16 teams have been out on tours, multiple matches. So the other counter argument to there is it's just a 2 month odd matches that you play, have an exposure and come back, and that's it. What next, right? Because you're within this system only. Because that could also be a question asked to you guys, like, when you send these kids out there, because after a point, it's up to the kid how much he or she is interested in, and then the club that puts effort and gets them the training and stuff. So how does that go about? Like, is it just a couple of months or couple of years exposure, and after a point, what happens to that player? What if they don't make it? Some may or some may not. So what happens in those cases?
So you're right. I mean, most of them have academy structure. What we are giving is only exposure. Whether the kid will make it big or he will not, it absolutely is dependent on the kid. We are only the enablers. We are giving you an exposure. We are giving you that facilities. We are giving you a possibility to get sponsored. We are giving you a possibility, a platform where you may get picked up the best scout. But will it happen? I don't really know, because even the academy structure. Forget the ISL clubs. Let us talk about the international. Let us talk about FC Barcelona. They have in-house academy which is La Masia, and we were there recently in January. We were at La Masia. We were seeing their matches. Of their entire academy this season, I think only one guy who's made it to the pro team, and the rest of the players are outsourced from outside. So despite each of the club having their own academies, it is not a direct feed into the team itself. You are looking for scout all over. So we are adding to that pool, and hopefully you will make big. The kids who will not make it to the to a particular club or to a particular level, it's till you are developing a skill, you have that exposure, there are multiple avenues you will end up doing. The sports ecosystem doesn't only consist of the teams playing in ISL or Premier League. It also consists of huge amount of academies, coaches, sports instructors, and multiple other avenues. So how will a career of each, ultimately you only have so many teams, you have only so many players playing, and yeah, so the people will find their way.
Right. Now, I mean, do you think, like, for example, now you guys are setting up trials, you guys are doing all of the hard work on ground, but there are these players who come to you for the trials will be depending, I mean, they'll be belonging to different academies which are already existing for many years. Do you think the academies would feel like they're being robbed of an opportunity to have a good player? One, I understand, it's like if I have an academy and the kid is gone, I should be happy because the kid's got an exposure out there or will get a chance to play there. But in case there's some more talk like that, I'm doing all the hard work and you guys get all the limelight and the kid's out there, right? So have you thought of maneuvering around that, and how do you kind of break that part of conversation or not get that conversation going at all?
So like you said, so because we are talking only the physical aspect, so you see this is where a system like a BigHit app comes into play, because all our registrations for the trials are happening through the app. If you're coming through the app and you are attached to a particular academy, you can very well see who your academy is. Our intention is not to snatch away you from the academy. Our thing is to supplement the existing infrastructure which are already into place. At the end of the tour, the guy wants to go back to his academy, he's free to go. We are not holding anybody back. The guy gets picked up by an ISL club, and God willing, say by Chelsea, let us, I mean, this is just an example, but a Premier League club. It's a great news for the academy itself. And I am only a platform which helped a particular academy. So we are very, very open about that we are not creating players. We are giving them just a platform. The creation and the grassroots development is, we would want to supplement it, but these are these academies and they get their due credits. You go to your friend wants to play from a club, you look around and you say, oh, this is the club which feeds into Arsenal. Would you want to go there? For sure. So it adds to your thing. It's and if the club is so great that they are able to, so retaining a player is actually a club's thing. It's a global situation. So not robbing anybody of anything.
Yeah. And to add to that, like, okay, this player goes out and has the exposure and makes it big, but we've seen players in the past, right? We've not like we've never had players, but it's maybe not the matches or the leagues that we see on TV very often, right? It's the top division that we get to see. But there are levels down there, and it's a known fact that Indian football is way, way even lags behind the third or fourth division of a Premier League or any other leagues in the country, right? So does that also involve as part, or the idea that you guys have set up is that you play for the first, I mean, the most senior most team, the first team of the club, or any levels of that team that has, the club that has teams down the level as well? Or are you only guys aiming at the cream of the teams?
So I think we had this conversation, and at the risk of repeating myself, I'll say that we in 2023 we are actually, I will say something which a very great man said exactly 40 years before. So into a league where the Indian team has not won any single match ever before. When asked in the press conference, he says, I'm here to win the cup. I'm talking about Kapil Dev and World Cup 1983. Indian cricket team has never won a single match in that tournament ever. The guy comes and makes a claim that I'm here to get the World Cup, and he gets it. I don't want to aim at a League 2 or Division 2, Division 3, Division 4. No, I want to aim at the top. So nobody thought that India will do anything in cricket till the time Kapil Dev came, Nobody thought that Indians had the physique to throw the javelin to be a world champion, and then Neeraj Chopra is there. Nobody thought they will do very well in boxing, and then Mary Kom is there. Nobody thought we will be the great weightlifters, and then you have a couple of players bagging Olympic medals out there. So everything is impossible till the time a hero comes and changes the scenario. We have a list of javelin throwers who are aiming to be there. We have a couple of weightlifters who are probable Olympians, Olympic medalists in the upcoming Paris 24. So you get the stage is set for a Indian footballer who will change the scene of football in India. I'm pretty confident of that. Yeah, I'm aiming only at the top clubs. Anything below is okay. Yeah, the people will play at Division 2, Division 3, Division 4, but I assure you there'll be a player who will be playing the top clubs very, very soon.
Right. Now, you mentioned that you've traveled across and you met these teams and clubs in the Europe. What was their response like? And when you guys took this idea to them, what was it like? And how big an involvement would those teams have for in your project?
So when we met them, the idea was that can we create a league where we are building these two teams, and we invite about 8 to 10 of these top teams to come down to India and play matches with them. That's where we were looking at. That's how we went. We were looking at under 16. And we said that when you come, you got to come with your scouts and your coaches, and actually pick up a couple of people back with you, and train with them, make them train with your team, and give them the right exposure. So we were looking at about 8 to 10 spots for those things. We had upwards of about 17 confirmations. So that's the response we got. People coming down to India and play in Indian situations. So I think you also have to understand the potential of Indian market. So we have Ranveer Singh as the Premier League brand
Ambassador,
partner,
yeah.
and he was recently there in an Everton match, and he was physically there and he was promoting the whole thing. And I was looking at the match, and there were 10,000 people watching the match. Because that's Ranveer Singh. He is, I think, one of the biggest crowd pullers in India right now. You contrast it with the scenario where I say top two Premier Leagues are having a match, and at the towards the fag end of the match, last 5 minutes you introduce an Indian player. When I say Indian player, not Indian origin, an Indian player who comes on the scene. What do you think the eyeballs will be, and what do you think? 11% of Liverpool's global fan base is Egyptian. About similar number for Tottenham has South Korean. Why? Because you have a guy, Now imagine you have an Indian player, the kind of fandom, and it's a commercial angle. Of course, the player has to have that kind of basic athleticism, has the right side of skills. But there is also a commercial angle. You cannot ignore a market as big as India. People have realized that, and I think we get the right set of skill set, and I think we are there.
Right. And have you put a marker in terms of the year that you're looking at to see that first big player who breaks it out there? Because we've been talking about development, and though we are, the structure wise, though we are still trying a lot of things to keep some system in place so that the kids get to play a lot of games, they get enough touches of the ball and they're used to playing all of that. But we're still not yet there, right? With the whole, we are still struggling with having regular competitions and game times. So, have you put a year's number to your, the ideal date or time that you say, okay, this is the time that I've put, and I want make sure that I see this player at this year?
I would refer to the vision document which AIFF has released recently, and I think they're looking at a timeline of 2045 where we have an international superstar. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm super optimistic by nature. I will make crazy claims. And actually, when I make these crazy claims, I actually have a very, very firm belief in it because I'm putting my money and my time and my life where my mouth is. So, at the risk of being ridiculed, my timeline is like 2 decades shorter than what the number has been projected. So, 2025, I think there's a very, very real possibility that you'll see an Indian player.
Okay, great. I think, and finally, what are, and that's, you mentioned about I think we've broken down of how do you intend to do it, but any upcoming, what's the most upcoming projects that probably excites the Indian football audience that are listening to this, and what's that one big thing that we all should be excited for?
So I think the one big thing that the Indian football should be excited about is European clubs coming down to India and you getting an opportunity to play with them on Indian soil. Especially for the youth, this has never happened before. So I think if your boys are playing against the top European clubs with their U16, U14 teams in India, I think one, for a player who is playing against the best athlete, and two, for supporters who would want to see their boys to be playing against the best athletes, no matter what the result is. But I think the match between, let's say, a wildcard team, or let's say Mohan Bagan versus one of the top German clubs, let's say Bayern Munich, for example, is happening in Kolkata, in, let's say, Mohan Bagan Stadium or East Bengal, wherever, Salt Lake, for example. I think the crowd that will come to cheer will be humongous, because we have not seen that. And until and unless we don't compete with the best, I think we will never bridge the gap, because we don't know where we have to reach. If we are not playing against whatever the best cream, or if you're playing against the U16 teams of the Premier League or whatever the best leagues in the world, these guys will turn pro in a matter of time. And you're playing against those guys who will turn pro in the next couple of years. So you know where exactly you have to be. And we are looking to, bridge that gap. So I think that is something which we are looking to provide. And apart from this, there are multiple things, but we cannot share those, at this point in time. But then multiple things with respect to youth are coming up, and you will soon hear about that news also.
Great. I think the one thing I probably missed out on asking was, and we'll probably close with that, how has the response been with the folks in India, like the different stakeholders that you've met, that you said, whether it's the state federations or the national federation in football or the academies or the coaches, whoever you've met, how has the response from them been like?
So I will say, for in general, I will not say for particular football, but everybody whom I have pitched the idea for a partner, or let's say for a brand, I have not heard a no from everybody, because something of this sort has never happened in India before. Nobody has been working on this space. Everybody is excited about what we are doing, and everybody is wanting to see the next steps that we are bringing in. With respect to federations, there is no private entity who is helping them or assisting them to increase their visibility, or helping them digitalize their state ranking events or national ranking events, or giving them a platform where everything which they are running can be digitalized and can be given to a wider audience. So with respect to, I think, the feedback that we have got, or the partners that we have got, it speaks for itself. We have about 15 or 16 odd partners on board. There are another 22 odd in pipeline. We are hosting events from MMA to judo to weightlifting to every other partner that we have on our platform. So I think the response has been humongous. With respect to football, every state federation has personally invited us to come there and meet them and take things ahead. So they are looking up to what we are going to do next.
So for the response, most of the time the response which we get is of disbelief कि सर ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता है, कभी हुआ ही नहीं है, क्या बात कर रहे हो आप सर, इतना बड़ा पैसा कोई नहीं देगा. So that's the stand. I'm not kidding. We have sent up BD guys, and I recently met a coach. He runs a very successful Mumbai club and one of the very, very important figure in Maharashtra football. And I was talking to him, and I said that we're trying to do something is in football, and he like, yeah sir, there's another company, uska ladka log aaya tha mere paas mein, and it was वो कुछ बोल रहा था, और उसका जो CEO है वो उसका फुटबॉल से कोई लेना देना नहीं है, और वो कुछ वेट पावर लिफ्टिंग का आदमी है और कुछ फुटबॉल नहीं कर रहा है, मैंने तो उसको भगा दिया क्योंकि ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता. ऐसे सर दैट कंपनी बोला, उन्होंने कुछ कोच मीट किया था, मैंने कहा सर दैट कंपनी इज BigHit एंड आई एम द CEO एंड आई गॉट नथिंग टू डू विद पावर लिफ्टिंग एंड आई हैव प्लेड फुटबॉल. सो एंड देन आई टोल्ड हिम द होल थिंग, एंड ही सेज कि सर व्हाट यू आर सेइंग इज अ ह्यूमंगस प्रोडक्ट, इट इज जस्ट आई हैव नेवर सीन एनीथिंग लाइक दिस बिफोर. सो मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम वी गेट दिस होल thing of disbelief that somebody is actually trying to do something like this. That's the first response. So, but we have seen most of them are easy converts, and there's nothing to lose for them. It's only an upside thing. So we are very positive. Also to the you're talking about, he was mentioning the next big thing that people should be excited about is in football. So there's one particular thing I want to add. When he says that there's a, say, top German club coming down to India and playing, and their scouts looking at you, and you have a match of under 16 in Mohan Bagan Stadium. More than that, let us assume that there's a kid in Lucknow. He doesn't know the way to get into Mohan Bagan. Forget playing Bayern Munich. He doesn't know the way. If my nephew, he's a footballer. He's recently got selected for the zonal finals, and his team is playing out there. If I ask me that which club do you want to play, he will not have a name. He will not know how the trials are happening, where are they happening, how do I get in there. Now what our program gives you, that this guy sitting in Lucknow actually has a chance to play with these guys in Europe, which is the thing which should excite the athletes significantly, because everybody has a chance. It doesn't matter where you are, whether your city has a big football club, or whether you are from Goa, where the football is in the blood. If you are in Bareilly, or if you are in Bikaner or Raipur, you still have a shot at it. And it's up to you to banao khel se pehchan. So that's where we are.
Great. I think apprehensions and disbeliefs will continue to happen because, like you said, it's quite a natural response, right? Am I convinced fully? I'm not sure. So I think these things, and I think we are all happy to be proven wrong, to see the good things, because if it's going to turn out to be good, it's all a win-win for everyone, right? So thank you so much for, I think, breaking down and giving us some insights and a glimpse into what BigHit is and how big it will be, the hit. We'll have to wait and see. But I think best wishes. To have an intent first is a big step, right? I think that's where some of us also lack. So best wishes to both of you and to the entire team at Big Hit. So hopefully we'll sit down like this once more at the end of things, and we may have those players as well. And then we'll be talking about those players who've made it on top, right? Thank you, Shakti, and thank you, Vinit. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Siju.
Thank you so much again.
To all the lovely listeners, I hope you enjoyed this episode and you've got to know about the story of Big Hit. Do follow these guys. They're on LinkedIn as well. So connect with them. If you're a coach, if you're a player, you want to know, get in touch. You can get in touch with us as well, and we'll connect you both. Thank you so much once again for showering all the love on our show and on our podcast. We're available on all the audio platforms. This is me, Siju, signing off from the Totally Indian Football Show. Thank you.